Have you ever tried to say how long you've been doing something in Spanish and just gotten stuck? You're not alone. It's a super common trap. Well, today, we're going to crack the code on a simple little formula that will make you sound way more natural. Let's get into it.
Okay, so take a look at this sentence. I have been playing chess for an hour. It seems pretty straightforward, right? And I bet your first instinct is to try and translate that word for word. But if you do that, you're going to fall right into a classic linguistic trap.
And this is what I like to call the English to Spanish time trap. You see, you just can't do a direct literal translation here. Spanish has a completely different and honestly, a much cooler way of talking about actions that started in the past and are still happening right now.
So why does this trap even exist? Well, it's because of something called an idiomatic expression. Basically, it's a phrase where the meaning of the whole group of words is totally different from what you'd expect by just looking them up one by one. You know, like in English when we say it's raining cats and dogs, the Spanish formula we're about to learn is a perfect example of this. So what's the secret? What's the key to escaping the trap? It's this elegant, powerful little formula. Hace que. Seriously, this is your ticket to sounding so much more fluent and natural when you're talking about how long something's been going on. Okay, now what's really cool is how simple this is when you break it down. It really only has 4 parts. First, you always start with hace, then you just slot in the amount of time, an hour, 2 years, whatever. Next up is the word que. And here's the magic ingredient, the part you have to remember. You finish with the verb in the present tense. Yep, the present tense, even though the action started in the past. And just to show you why this is an idiom, check out the literal translation. It makes time since verb. I mean, if you walked up to someone and said, "It makes an hour since I play chess," they'd look at you pretty funny, right? It sounds totally bizarre in English. And that's exactly why we have to learn this as one complete chunk, one single idea. All right, theory is great and all, but the only way this is really going to stick is if we actually do it. So let's get our hands dirty and build some sentences together using our new formula. Here we go, your first challenge. How would you put this sentence together? I've been playing basketball for 4 years. Just think about those 4 slots in the formula we just talked about. Hace, the time, que, and the verb. And boom, there you have it. Hace 4 años que juego al basketball. The key thing to notice is that verb juego, which means I play. It's in the present tense, even though in English we're saying I have been playing. That's the big difference. You see that? It fits our pattern like a glove. You've got hace, then the time, 4 años, then que, and finally the verb in the present tense. It's so simple once you see the pattern, right? You can't unsee it. Okay, ready for round 2? Let's try another one just to lock this thing in for good. She has been watching telenovelas for 2 months. The person changes, but does our formula? Let's find out. Exactly. Hace 2 meses que mira telenovelas. You see, the core formula stays exactly the same. All we did was swap out the time and change the verb to match the new person. She watches, or mira. And there it is again. Hace, the time, que, and the present tense verb. This simple, beautiful pattern just works for pretty much any situation you can think of. Okay, so you're getting the hang of making statements. You're feeling good. But what if you want to ask a question? What if you want to ask how long? Well, the great news is we just need to make one tiny little tweak to the formula we already know. All right, check this out. Let's put them side by side. On the left is our statement formula. On the right, the question. See what's happening? The heart of it, the hace que part, is still there. We just add cuánto tiempo at the very beginning, which means how much time or how long. And we do a little shuffle with the first 2 parts. So let's put this new question structure into practice right away. How would you ask, how long has Berto been playing chess? It would sound just like this. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que Berto juega al ajedrez? You can kind of hear the natural rhythm of it, can't you? It just flows really nicely once you get used to saying it. And if we look under the hood here, it's totally consistent. You've got your question phrase, ¿cuánto tiempo?, followed by that same hace que pattern we already know and love. It's just as reliable as the statement form. Okay, so we've covered statements and we've covered questions. But honestly, none of this really matters unless you make it personal. The only way you'll truly remember this is to start using it to talk about your own life. So if you're going to remember just 3 things from all of this, let it be these. First, for actions that are still going on, you're going to use that hace plus time plus que plus verb formula. Second, and this is a big one, remember it's an idiom. Don't try to translate it word for word. And third, to ask how long, just pop cuánto tiempo hace que at the beginning. That's it. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all, a question for you. I want you to really think about your own journey. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que tú estudias español? How long have you been studying Spanish? Answering that question for yourself is the very first step to making this formula a part of your own Spanish toolkit.